Hello, welcome back to my channel, Inflightmuzik. My name is Ian, and if you're new here and you're looking for FL Studio tips and tricks, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time I drop a new video. Today I just want to go over the importance of the difference between leveling and gain staging, because recently I've been seeing a lot of people getting these two things confused. I've done a video on gain staging before, but I think it's time that I update that. So right here you can see that I have volumes adjusted differently for particular sounds, and you'll see in the meters right here everything is green, and I'll point out a few things that I feel are really important about leveling. So the first thing that I want to point out is that my kick is the loudest element out of all of my individual tracks. And you'll see that I have this snare layered with this clap, but just to show you how loud that actually is when you combine the two, I'll go ahead and route those both to the same track. So I'll take my clap and snare, route them both to track 10, and now you can see the level of really what my snare really is compared to my kick. My kick is right around -12, and my snare is sitting right around -16. So it's about a 4 dB difference. And depending on your genre, you might want your snare louder or lower than that. And then you see that a lot of these percussive elements are sitting about halfway to the volume of my snare, with the hats being somewhere in between that halfway point and the top point of my snare. And again, depending on your genre, you might want your hi-hats a little bit louder or your percussion a little bit louder. And then for my bass, if you go to my bass bus, you could compare the bass to the drums right here. Now, some people will like their bass almost equally as loud as their kick. But if you wanted to, especially for urban music, you can crank that bass pretty loud. But I'm going to change mine back. But if you're trying to sell beats online, I totally understand if you're really wanting that bass to crank up pretty high. Just keep in mind that takes away room and space for some of your other sounds, because the low end just causes a lot of issues when you do that. But if you watch my sidechaining tutorial, that'll help you out quite a bit. And then you'll notice that my instruments are just sitting right under the bass, almost around the midpoint of where my drums are hitting. So that's what you do in terms of leveling, getting your levels right. Typically your kick is the loudest, then your snare or bass, then your hi-hat, and then your instruments are sitting right under all of that. And that pretty much creates a bed of sound with nice peaks coming through so that your drums are really hitting. It just makes your drums sound a lot cleaner when you're able to let each of your drum hits peak over your instruments. But here's something that you guys need to realize. There's a big difference between doing that and gain staging. That is not gain staging. That's literally just leveling. Now, gain staging is totally different. For example, when I go into this kick, I have this parametric EQ loaded up, and you'll see that I have some boost here, boost right here. Yeah, I've taken out some volume right here, some volume right here, but just as I said earlier, low end tends to carry more power than most of the other frequencies, than all the other frequencies. In order for you to actually hear if the sound is better or worse, you have to gain stage so that the output of the signal that you're getting is equal to the output that you put in. So in this example, normally what I would do, I didn't do it this way, but I did it a little different. Normally what I would do, I would adjust this volume down until I hit the same volume that was going in terms of peaks. And that's really what we're listening for. If you can make the sound hit at the same exact peak as before, and it sounds better or worse, that will be a better judge of whether or not that plugin is improving your sound or hurting your sound, versus just making it louder, because the human brain automatically hears louder as better. I just realized this window's gigantic. Let me put that back down. I'm not sure how that ended up. Okay, anyway, you notice that I had this still at 0. All I did was just adjust the volume on the main fader. but I don't necessarily have the same output going from plugin to plugin. However, what I did do was make sure that after I'm finished adding a single plugin on, I do listen back at the same output that I originally started with. So you do that, but you'll notice that this plugin Overtone, it doesn't have an output knob. Whatever you set these settings to, that's what you're going to hear. And you've seen me do in tutorials, sometimes I'll purposely drive the output of a plugin into the input of another plugin. So right here, my next plugin in the plugin chain is Soft Clipper. So what I actually have going on here, I'm taking away some of these frequencies, but there's other frequencies that I'm purposely driving into Soft Clipper so that I get more soft clipping on those signals. So after doing that, let's say that I didn't have these other plugins. What you would want to listen to is Soft Clipper. I would turn down the overall volume to match the output signal or turn it up. That's something that people don't realize about saturation or soft clipping. It actually lowers your peaks. And that's what people love about soft clipping or saturation or distortion. It allows you to turn up the volume and hit the same peak level as before. And often it gives you a better sound in terms of just warmth, thickness, and just more fullness overall. It gives you more harmonic content. The sound literally sounds bigger even though it's at the same level. And you'll hear that as soon as you gain stage the levels back up to the same peak level. So that's the opposite of what I was showing you earlier of turning things down. Sometimes you got to turn things up. Otherwise, you might think that that saturation that you added sounds horrible because the volume is lower. So here I set up an example of doing proper gain staging and comparing your signal to before and after your effects. So right here on my mix bus, I went ahead and added a couple panomatics so that I can increase my volume on my mix bus. So when I turn off all of my master plugins right here and turn this on, they're hitting right about the same level. So now we're gonna listen to my mix without my master, and then I'll turn this off and turn on my mastering plugins, and we'll listen to if it actually got better or worse. I mean, you could obviously hear a difference in power and width and all kinds of other things that just sound much better with these plugins on versus just turning the volume up on my mix. And that's the difference between gain staging and leveling. If you just want an immediate answer of whether or not you improve the sound, just make sure the input is the same as the output. That's the power of gain staging, to actually know whether or not your mixing decisions are improving your sound or not. That might be the number one thing that will improve your mixes above anything else. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.